G'day guys. Did you know it's actually possible to boot directly into RetroArch on most modern versions of ArkOS, ArkOS for clones, dArkOS and dArkOSRE? Doing this completely bypasses Emulation Station, so there's no box art, no background music, and no fancy menus. Just pure RetroArch goodness. It's actually really easy to make the change, and if you don't like using straight RetroArch to load all of your games, it's just as easy to change back. There's no need to download or copy anything over to your R36S either. It's baked right into the OS itself. As usual, we will be trying this on the latest version of dArkOSRE, which at the time of filming is version 03082026. But it should also work on ArkOS, ArkOS for clones, and vanilla dArkOS, although I personally haven't tried it on those. Let's get into it. Before we make the switch to RetroArch, I do just want to quickly see how long a cold boot normally takes, just so we can compare it later and see if it's any faster. Okay, our R36S is fully powered off. I'll start the 3-second countdown timer, get ready to turn it on and go, see how long it takes. I'll get ready to pause it, and done, just under 20 seconds. So with our baseline cold boot benchmark taken, we can power off our R36S once more, which we do need to do to be able to boot into RetroArch only mode, and we can also get rid of our timer. So to boot into pure RetroArch, all we have to do is hold down the B button while powering on the device. So I'm holding down the B button now. I'll power on the device while still holding it. I haven't let go of B yet, still holding it. We want to keep holding it until we get to BART. There we go. Boot and recovery tools, also known as BART. From here, we want to go down to option 2, RetroArch, and click OK. And that's it, we are now in pure RetroArch. If we power off the device from here, we can just go all the way down to the very bottom and shut down. The next time we power it on, we won't need to hold B, it will automatically default to RetroArch every single time. I'll go get our stopwatch again, and we'll see how long a cold boot takes now. So just as a reminder, it did take around 20 seconds to cold boot to Emulation Station. I'll click reset and OK. Start the 3-second countdown, get ready to power it on and go. We'll see how long it takes this time. I will get ready to pause it. We're getting close to 20 seconds. It actually took a little bit longer that time. Not too much longer though. That is still within the margin of error. So here it is, plain old RetroArch. I would recommend enabling playlists and favorites first, just to make loading games a little easier and quicker in the future, although this is optional. To do that, we just want to go to Settings, User Interface, Menu Item Visibility, Quick Menu, and from here we just want to scroll down until we get to Show Add to Favorites. We want to press A on that to turn it on. And right below that, there should be Show Add to Playlists. We want to turn that on as well. Once enabled, we do have to save the config. So we'll press B to go back, press B to go back once more, and press B to go back once more to the main menu. And then we want to go back to Quick Menu on the left and go all the way down to Configuration File and Save Current Configuration. That should be it. If we go all the way to the right, we do have a new favorites list. So how do we actually load games in pure RetroArch? If we go back to the Quick Menu, go up to the top, the easiest way would not to be load a core, but instead go down to load content, navigate to our ROMs list, which should be the start directory by default. And we want to go down to the system we want to load. I guess we'll go down to NES for this test. And we've just got Mega Man 2 here to test. If we press A on that, it'll ask us to select a core. And I guess we'll go down to Quickness and just press A. And we're in the game. So once you've actually loaded a game, you can bring up the RetroArch menu, usually by pressing the function button, but it does depend on which OS you're on. And if we go down on the quick menu, you can see there's an option to add to favorites or add to playlist. Playlists are great for sorting games into genres, like RPGs and platformers, or just custom lists like backlogs, top 10s, and so on. Favorites, however, just dumps all of your games into the favorites list. I'll add it to favorites, just press A, but I'll also add it to playlist. Now we don't have any playlists just yet, so we will create one, and I guess I'll just call it top 10. You can press L and R1 to change the case and symbols if you wanted to. So uppercase, T, lowercase, OP, space, 10. I do apologize for the tiny UI elements. Everything is really small in this. Once you've given your new playlist a name, just press start. And Mega Man should now be added to our top 10 playlist. It's that easy. We'll press function once more to go back into the actual game. And once in the game, the hotkey should be pretty much the same as normal. So in this version of dArkOSRE, select and right on the D-pad should fast forward, and it does. Select and B should save state. And we'll go a little bit into the game. Select and A should load state. Now, even though there's no emulation station to load back into, start and select does actually still quit out. So if we press start and select, it should take us back to RetroArch, and it does. You could also just optionally load a new game from the main RetroArch menu. You don't actually have to quit out first. So as mentioned, your favorites are the star just here. And if we press A on our game, we don't have to select a core again. It remembers which core we used, so we can just go run. And we're back in the game. We'll quit back out just so I can show the custom playlist. So the custom playlist should be all the way to the far right. And you can see at the very top left, it says top 10. That is the name of our playlist. We only have one game in here, Mega Man 2. Selecting it lets us either start the game, resume the game, or remove it from the playlist altogether. If we go back to the main RetroArch menu or the quick menu, pressing start doesn't bring up the usual emulation station start menu, since again, we're not running emulation station anymore. So if you did want to shut down the system or restart, you would do so from the quick menu here. So at the very bottom, you can shut down or reboot. So now we've covered all the basics, what about some game and performance tests? We have already tested the cold boot time, and it was pretty much the same as when using Emulation Station, at least within 1 or 2 seconds, so negligible difference there. We might test some in-game performance. We'll go back into Mega Man 2, we'll go to Bubble Man stage, and I'll bring up the RetroArch menu, go back to the main menu, settings, user interface, on-screen notifications, visibility, and I'll enable frame rate. I do also want to save this, so I'll go back to the main quick menu, or the main menu, and go down to config file, and save current config. Perfect. We'll go back into Mega Man 2, and it looks like we're close to 800 frames a second right now, at least with quickness. Now, this isn't really a fair test, since the benchmarks that we've taken in dArkOSRE previously did not use this core, so we might quit out, and we'll load back into Mega Man 2, only this time we'll use a different core. So Mega Man 2, and this time we'll use Nestopia, which I'm pretty sure is the stock core when using Emulation Station. We'll go back into Bubble Man stage. Perfect. Now, usually in dArkOSRE, when using Emulation Station, we get around 192 frames a second average in this stage. We are currently idling at around 189 frames a second, so that is a little bit slower, but I think that's more of a coincidence. I have had this frame rate before when using Emulation Station. It does usually come good after around 5 minutes or so, but otherwise pretty much the same performance. We'll quit out and try our next game. We'll go back down to Load Content, Start Directory, and this time we'll go down to Game Boy Color, or GBC, and we'll load up Pokemon Crystal. I believe Gambat is the stock core when using Emulation Station, so we'll just go with that. And we'll toggle fast forward. So on this title screen, we normally get between 400 and 600 frames a second, and it's pretty much the same here. So far, no real difference in performance when using RetroArch only versus Emulation Station. That's not too surprising though, and I'll say why after our next test. If we quit out of this one and load up our next game, so Content, Start Directory, and this time we'll go down to GBA. We've just got Pokemon Fire Red to test. I'm not 100% sure what core Emulation Station uses by default for Game Boy Advance. It might be MGBA. We'll try that. We'll toggle fast forward. And we normally get around 85 frames a second, which we are here. So again, no difference at all. The reason why I'm not too surprised that there's no performance boost is because even when using Emulation Station, once you go to load into a game, Emulation Station does get closed before actually loading into the new game. So there's basically no performance boost when using pure RetroArch. So what about systems that normally only have standalone emulators like PSP and Nintendo DS? While you can use RetroArch for PSP games normally from Emulation Station, you can't do the same for Nintendo DS. At least not what I could see. So we'll go down to Load Content, Start Directory, and this time we'll try a Nintendo DS game. Now, interestingly, it says there's no games in here. Or I guess no supported games. I do definitely have Mario Kart DS in here, so instead of trying to load content, we might try and load core. We will have to scroll all the way down to Nintendo, I believe. And even going through the list of RetroArch cores, it looks like Drastic or Nintendo DS isn't here. I've gone down to D for Drastic. It might be under A for Advanced Drastic. No, there doesn't seem to be a RetroArch Nintendo DS emulator. So it looks like there's no Nintendo DS support when using pure vanilla RetroArch. At least not out of the box. What about PSP? We'll go back to load content, start directory, and all the way down to PSP. It does detect Mega Man powered up, but it's not sure what core to use. I guess because it's a disk image, an ISO. We'll go down to PPSSPP hopefully. Oh, there it is, Sony PlayStation Portable. Interestingly, there's no text. Yeah, some of the text is missing. Normally it would say, do you want to create a save game or save data? That's so weird. Can we continue? There we go. What about the rest of the game? Does it even work? Doesn't seem too bad now. We go new game. Everything seems fine now. It was just the initial sort of loading screen when I asked if we want to create save data. We're in game and it does work fine. This one's not really that hard to run, but you do get the occasional lag spike that we just saw. The lag spikes do happen at the exact same spot every time. What about the RetroArch menu for PPSSPP? Core options, I guess? System? Yeah, it looks like all of the usual PPSSPP settings are here. It's just organized a little bit differently to match RetroArch's layout. So what if you no longer wanted to boot into pure RetroArch and instead wanted to go back to good old Emulation Station? Thankfully, it is super easy to swap back. We just want to go down to shutdown or reboot, I guess. We'll go to reboot instead. And this time we'll hold down B, exactly the same as we did earlier to enable it. Keep holding B and we should eventually get back into BART. There we go. And from here, we just want to select option 1, Emulation Station. Now, although everything looks right, it will still use the slightly different RetroArch front end when loading a game. So if we go back into Mega Man 2, you can see everything's fine, but if we bring up the RetroArch menu, it is using the other layout. If you are happy with this new RetroArch menu, then that's fine and you're good to go. If, however, you wanted to fix this and go back to the old RetroArch menu, all you have to do is quit out of the game first, press start, go down to options, advanced, and go down to reset RetroArch settings. So this one here, not core settings, but RetroArch settings. If we press A, should get a black screen. You'll get a little warning, that's okay. If you do want to proceed, you do have to manually type in OK. So OK. And that should be it. Now if we go back into Mega Man 2, and we press function to bring up the RetroArch menu, we're back to the standard one. It's that easy. We will quit out and power cycle the system, just to make sure it does automatically load back into Emulation Station. So start, quit, and restart system. I won't touch any buttons. We got the boot logo, and we're back into Emulation Station. Nice and easy. Also, if you were wondering, Nintendo DS is there. As mentioned, our ROM was there. We'll go into it just to make sure it works. And yeah, it works fine. There just doesn't seem to be a Nintendo DS RetroArch core by default. Overall, while this could be handy for someone that's used to using pure RetroArch on other devices, there was no real difference in performance, either cold boot or in-game, and it definitely does take some getting used to if you've never really used straight RetroArch before. Please let me know if you use this on your device down in the comments below, and if so, why you prefer it over using a front end like Emulation Station. I am curious to see if anyone out there prefers straight RetroArch on their R36S. But I think that'll do it for today. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.